Thank you for joining me today. I'm Dr. Charles Yoost, the Associate for Care at the Old Stone Church on Public Square in downtown Cleveland. And today I want to talk to you about the fourth and the final chapter of Adam Hamilton's book, Faithful, Christmas Through the Eyes of Joseph. We read in Luke's Gospel that Joseph and Mary went to Bethlehem because of a census. In the days of Caesar Augustus, censuses were held once every 14 years. The purpose of a census was to take stock of the population and, of course, to levy taxes, which is true in all cultures. So, Joseph was called to go to Bethlehem, his hometown, and he took Mary with him, who was 9 months pregnant. Now, think about the fact that it was about a 70-mile journey from Nazareth, where they lived, to Bethlehem, where they were going. Mary was riding on a donkey. At least in Christian art, she's always riding on a donkey. But think about any women who are listening and looking at this video. What about that? How would you like to ride on a donkey for 9 days, 9 months pregnant? Well, it was an uncomfortable trip. I want to suggest to you it was a trip that Joseph and Mary did not want to take. Have you ever been on a trip that you did not want to take? Have you ever had an experience that you did not want to share? As a pastor, many times I've had to call a family and share the bad news that their loved one has died. I've had to talk to them about situations where the outcome is going to be very bleak following surgery. These are journeys I don't like to make. These are journeys no one wants to make. So Joseph and Mary did something they didn't want to do, but they went to Bethlehem. Now, you would think, since Joseph was from Bethlehem, you would think that there would have been some relatives where they could have stayed for the night. But it seems like all the rooms were full. There must have been a lot of relatives in town for no one to be able to take in Joseph and Mary, 9 months pregnant at that. And so you know the story. They found an inn, a stable, where they could stay. And the stable was undoubtedly a cave behind the inn. And I brought pictures today from our trip in 2014 to the Holy Land, where we went to the Church of the Nativity, which is built over the very place where they believe that Jesus was born. Now, when you go in the church, you see these lights, and you see a place where you go and you have to bend down in order to go down into the crypt, where you see the actual birthplace of Jesus. And you're allowed to bend down, and there's a star in the floor, and there's lamps all around, a very holy place. And you can imagine that due to the thousands of tourists, you're only allowed to stay for a minute and take a picture or two. But these are actually pictures I took of the very birthplace of Jesus. There were shepherds in the field, the gospel tells us, and they were watching their flock by night. Shepherds were the lowest people on the economic spectrum. This was a job nobody wanted, and the night shift at that. Who wants to work the night shift? When my wife was nursing, she got off of the night shift as quick as she could because nobody wants to work the night shift. So that's the least desirable time. But these were the shepherds. These are the people to whom God revealed about the birth of Jesus. And then we also know that Jesus' birth was revealed by a star to the Magi of the East. These were astrologers. These were people who studied the stars. And here were three people, as tradition tells us, who were not Jewish, who were foreign people. And when they came to visit Mary and Joseph received them with kindness. What does the visit of the Magi say to us about tolerance for other faiths today? Right in the beginning of the gospel, the faith was, our Christian faith tolerated other religions, and we need to think about that. And so here is Jesus appealing to the rich and to the poor, to the learned and to the unlearned, to the shepherds on the night shift, and to the richest people of the day. Jesus still appeals to people of all ages, of all parts of the economic spectrum, and the learned and the unlearned. Jesus appeals to everybody. Well, Joseph had another dream, and in that dream he was told to take Mary and the child to Egypt, which he did, and Joseph protecting the child and Mary, as you can see in this woodcut, typical Joseph. They went to Egypt, they stayed there for a while, and then in another dream it was told to Joseph that they could go back home and go not to Bethlehem, for there still might be danger, but to go back to Nazareth. And finally, I want to share about the fact that Jesus, of course, grew up, as all children grow up, rapidly. When Jesus was 12 years old in the temple, it says in Luke's Gospel, "Your father and I have been worried about you." And so here is Joseph again, showing concern for Jesus, as he did throughout his whole life. I think in summary of our session, I think we can say about Joseph that here was the impact of one person who was never in the limelight. Joseph was always behind the scenes. Joseph was a selfless person. The Holy Spirit was present and active in his life. He listened to God. He paid attention to his dreams, inspired by the Holy Spirit. He was a genuine person, and he was loyal. And most of all, he was faithful. Adam Hamilton chooses the word faithful to describe Joseph. What one word would you use to describe Joseph if you had to describe him to somebody in just one word? Thank you for being part of this study. Faithful, the Christmas story through the eyes of Joseph. I appreciate the fact that you've listened in. I hope that you've learned some things about Joseph, one of the more neglected people in the Christmas story. And may each of you have a very Merry Christmas.